You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances, while the township supervisor...
Deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor
Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dolton, Illinois, shocked everyone by performing what seems to be the ultimate disappearance act just days ago. She stood defiantly at a fiery town hall meeting, railing again against her critics, passionately waving her finger in the faces of those she claimed were persecuting her and boldly asserting that all the accusations of misconduct against her were baseless. Now, as if she vanished into thin air, she's nowhere to be found, leaving the town reeling and buzzing about whether the whispers are true. Reported crossing the border and going completely unnoticed. In fact, it seems that she planned her departure under the guise of controversy to divert attention and implement her exit strategy. However, she didn't leave with just her dramatic statements. Rumors have it that she took a substantial sum of money purportedly obtained from public funds and laundered through her namesake charity, leaving Dolton and the authorities frantically trying to catch up. The charity in question had been under fire for months and had been shut down earlier after. Henyard's abrupt departure, coupled with the claims of financial impropriety that she failed to account for, which resulted in millions of donations, has only stoked public fury and suspicion. The timing of her escape is especially egregious in light of the growing investigations into her spending patterns and the revelations of extravagant taxpayer-funded expenses, including lavish vacations and dubious purchases like the now famous $40,000 Amazon spree in a single day, leaving residents already worn out by the turmoil surrounding her leadership. Disbelief that a leader who once pledged to improve the community could leave them in ruins on both the political and financial level, as authorities frantically tried to track her whereabouts and determine the extent of the harm her alleged schemes had caused. Dolton is facing an unprecedented scandal. This story of defiance, corruption, and abrupt disappearance reads like a TV drama, but it is actually unfolding in real life, leaving an entire community stunned, betrayed, and demanding answers about how Henyard slipped away and who will ever face justice.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No. As mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, Tiffany Henyard has been embroiled in a flurry of accusations that paint a damning picture of her time in office. Despite multiple controversies, accusations of corruption, theft, and even violent treatment of employees have repeatedly surfaced, casting a shadow over her leadership and igniting public outrage. Henyard was able to hold on to her job until recently, when it appeared that federal authorities were pursuing her. This increased scrutiny peaked when it became apparent that a federal arrest warrant was imminent, marking the start of what would turn out to be a significant scandal. However, her escape from the lead charges wasn't an accident. Momentary choice the way she disappeared raised suspicions and further fueled rumors about her network of allies. Indeed, it looks highly orchestrated, suggesting that she was tipped off about the upcoming investigation. It's hard to believe that such a smooth escape could have been carried out without inside knowledge of the federal authorities' next move. It seems likely that someone close to Henyard, possibly within her own circle or even the local government, alerted her about the upcoming arrest. This tip-off allowed her to carefully plan her escape, making her escape seem like part of a well-coordinated operation rather than a desperate flight from the law. It is not merely a theory that she might have been tipped off. It is that the details surrounding her disappearance provide a plausible explanation for how she managed to avoid capture so easily. They indicate that it was not just a case of her running away, but rather an escape made possible by members of her inner circle who were aware of the federal investigation and took action to protect her from facing justice. As the days pass, questions about who assisted Henyard in escaping and what drove them to do so raise even more concerns about the potential level of tale that is very different from Tiffany Henyard's story is far from over. And as the investigation continues, more shocking revelations are sure to surface, keeping the public and authorities on edge. While she may have temporarily escaped Justice Henry, Her past is catching up with her, and it will only be a matter of time before the truth about her escape and the people who helped her comes to light. In the meantime, the public is left to grapple with the larger implications of her actions and the potential far-reaching consequences for those who were involved in covering up her wrongdoings.
Make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing is...
But wait, it gets even juicier. Rumor has it that Tiffany Henyard carefully planned her escape under the pretense of a routine business trip to another state. It appeared harmless enough on the surface, a straightforward trip to attend to official business, but it was anything but. As her every move was being closely watched back home due to the growing accusations of corruption, theft, and violence against her, she took advantage of this brief period of relative calm to evade detection. Fee is the obvious failure on the part of those handling her case to take any proactive steps to prevent her escape, even in the face of all the warning signs surrounding her contentious tenure as mayor, the federal investigation that was pursuing her, and the ongoing media attention. It seems as though they were asleep at the wheel, unaware that she might take this final chance to escape. The lack of proactive action has raised serious questions about the competence and diligence of the agencies involved, given the scope of the investigation and the seriousness of the charges against her. It is almost incomprehensible that they would let her get away with there. The fact that she was able to leave the country without encountering any significant obstacles or resistance is both perplexing and concerning, especially in light of the attention her case had received. It appears as though the authorities were so preoccupied with their investigation that they failed to put in place the necessary safeguards to prevent her from taking advantage of a vulnerable moment. If anything, Henry's escape highlights a significant lapse in judgment and preparation on the part of federal authorities, giving her the ideal window to ensure her escape. This raises serious concerns about the effectiveness and oversight of federal operations, especially when dealing with prominent individuals accused of major crimes. The Tiffany not merely a brazen act of evasion, Henry's escape was a stark illustration of how structural flaws in law enforcement can let even the most closely watched people evade detection. As her disappearance continues to garner media attention, concerns are mounting about who failed to stop her and whether those who allowed her to escape will ever face consequences. Many others are questioning if there were more powerful forces at work that enabled her to make such a bold decision, and the entire experience has clouded the study. Get Out the story is made more interesting and suspenseful as it progresses, since Tiffany Henyard's escape from the law has undoubtedly not only increased public concern, but also shown serious shortcomings in the government approach to her case.
Several new developments in south suburban Dolton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial relief.
Now, if you think this sounds like something from a crime thriller, you're not wrong. Let's examine what might have caused Tiffany to make such a drastic move. To begin, insiders have hinted that the feds were preparing to make an attempt next week, and Tiffany must have heard about it. Can you imagine the panic that must have gone through her mind when she played the part of the outraged public servant, denying everything with a straight face 1 minute and then the next she's? There have been a number of recent developments in south suburban Dolton, including a rush to leave Dodge before the cups are released. First, the state count controller suspended some payments to the village for not following the law by providing financial reports. And there is also speculation that her charity fund, which was supposed to be doing all this good work, was actually being used as her personal piggy bank. When the authorities began to investigate, she knew something was wrong, but rather than waiting to see how it all worked out, she took matters into her own. They claim that she literally laundered a significant sum of money through this charity just before it was seized, allowing her to take the money with her. It seems as though she spent months organizing her escape, setting everything up in case she needed to leave quickly. Guess what happened? One way that other governments always do this is to go and look into people in her immediate vicinity, which is what they're doing here. However, why didn't the feds see this coming? Why didn't they freeze assets sooner or put her on a no-fly list? That's the $1 million. It's obvious that Tiffany outwitted everyone, and is now living it up somewhere far away, probably sipping cocktails on a beach while the rest of us are left picking up the pieces. That's one of the reasons I voted no, though, as there are many theories out there, including the possibility that someone on the inside was helping her, that someone owed her a favor, or that it was just plain incompetence on the part of the authorities. When we look through our board packets, it appears like you don't know exactly what some of this stuff is for, and when you ask a question, there is no answer. Joel L., the financier behind the one naive scandal, for instance, has been on the run for years. He fled the town before the law could catch up with him. When the going gets tough, the tough go far, far away. You know that wrong is wrong, and that there's a time to hold people accountable for their actions. What will happen to Tiffany next? Anyone can guess that it's possible that she's already working on a new plan to set herself up in a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S. because she's demonstrated that she can plan ahead, and it wouldn't be surprising if she has everything planned out. It's also possible that she has a lot of money, so she won't exactly be struggling to survive out there. But it makes me sad that you are up here at this special meeting rather than downstairs. This is where we have big bingo. But let's go back to why Tiffany got into this mess in the first place. She is not just any politician who made some poor decisions. She has been accused of some serious things, and the accusations against her are astounding. They range from outright corruption and financial mismanagement to using violence against her employees. Yes, you read correctly, to verbally and physically abusing them on several occasions. She also effectively privatized the local police department's use of them to achieve her personal goals under her supervision. Millions of dollars intended for community projects and services inexplicably disappeared, and records show extravagant spending on luxurious vacations. It seems as though she used an iron fist to suppress anybody who dared to disagree with her, transforming the city into her own personal Tom ruling, complete with luxurious hotels and exquisite food.
Addressing things as the supervisor. There will be no comments, there will be anything. It'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
In one instance, it was reported that she spent over $40,000 in a single day on Amazon, and when people started to question her, she either stonewalled them or struck out, accusing everyone of being against her. You heard me say today that I don't handle anything related to credit cards, and my board means that some of those charges are for you, sir. It's no wonder that the town's finances are in ruins now, with a deficit of millions of dollars that no one can account for when it comes to law. Compliance former employees have come forward to claim that Tiffany fostered a poisonous workplace where dissent was not permitted, and that if you didn't tell the team, you were either dismissed or intimidated into obedience. Tiffany was accused of having friends in the police force. Additionally, Tiffany was charged with using her position to harass and control others around her. She targeted her opponents by employing them to carry out raids and arrests that had little to do with any criminal activity and were all about suppressing criticism. The charity she used as a front for her shady dealings was supposed to be helping cancer patients, but on paper, its financial records were a mess, and there was little to no transparency about where the donations were going. When the feds finally started looking into it, they discovered all sorts of discrepancies, and that's when they realized. It's truly mind-boggling to consider how much damage Tiffany has caused to the town of Dolton. What was once a struggling but hopeful community has been left in ruins by her actions, and the town is now in millions of dollars in debt. Tiffany had already made her move and vanished by then, so I think you should pay everyone. Is that the reason you guys aren't paying or what? Whatever that vendor is, what was it for? Shirts, that's what it's for you guys. As the supervisor, I'm going to address a few things. There won't be any remarks or anything. I'll just be speaking to you all to let you know what's happening at the end. I'm wondering how they let this happen, and it's going to be extremely difficult for the authorities to bring her to justice as long as she stays out of the country. She's played her cards perfectly, and now she's sitting pretty while everyone else is left to deal with the fallout. About corruption, power, and greed, as we have seen time and time again, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So where does this leave us? She came into the office with big dreams and a great ego, and for a while it seemed like she could do no wrong. If Tiffany has been able to avoid the law and start a new life somewhere, she has technically won, which is a bitter pill for Southwest to swallow for the people she left behind. The people of Dolton are left to pick up the pieces. Tiffany's waste of power ultimately caused her to collapse, an attempt to rebuild after everything that has transpired. Tiffany is most likely already planning her next move, and while the authorities are still figuring out what to do, they will probably issue an international arrest warrant. But who knows if that will actually lead to anything? Scott is currently free, so all we can do is wait. If this whole situation has taught us anything, it is that Tiffany Henyard is full of surprises, and something tells us that we haven't heard the last of her yet. That's All People the Spectacular the Tiffany. The hen house, everyone is astonished by the escape. But what do you think? Did the mastermind plot the escape, or did she have inside help to avoid detection? Should the authorities have done more to stop her from fleeing? It wasn't just about the money in one instance. It was claimed that she spent over $440,000 in a single day on Amazon, and when people started to question why, I told you today that I don't manage anything relating to credit cards, and my board indicates that some of those charges are for you, sir. It is understandable why the town's finances are in ruins now, with $1 million shortfall in law enforcement that no one can explain. When they questioned her, she either stonewalled them or attacked them, claiming that everyone was against her. Former employees have come forward to claim that Tiffany fostered a poisonous work environment where dissent was not permitted, and that if you didn't tell the team, you were either fired or silenced. Tiffany was also accused of having friends in the police force. It's like something from a movie, except that in real life we needed those officers to be out on the streets fighting crime. But instead we have a number of officers riding around protecting there, and let's not forget the charity that she used as a front for her shady healings. She targets her critics by using them to conduct raids and arrests that had nothing to do with actual crime and everything to do with stifling opposition, just like in the movie. Doing all the Kerry financial records were a mess, and there was little to no transparency about where the donations were actually going. When the feds finally began investigating, they discovered a number of disparities, and that's when they knew they had her. But it was too late. Tiffany had already moved and vanished. I believe you should reimburse everyone. Is that the reason you aren't paying that vendor? And what was it for? Well, it was for shirts, so that's what it's for you. It's astounding to consider the extent of the harm she has caused to the town of Dolton, which was once a struggling but hopeful community. Her actions have left the town in ruins with millions of dollars in debt, services cut, and people wondering how they allowed this to happen. The worst part is that she might get away with it because it will be extremely difficult for the authorities to bring her to justice as long as she remains out of the country. She has played her cards perfectly, and now she's sitting pretty while everyone else is left to handle the fallout as the manager. There won't be any comments or anything. I'll just be talking to you all to let you know what's happening at the end. Tiffany Henyard's story serves as a warning about power, greed, and corruption because she came into office with big dreams and a big ego, and for a while it seemed like she could do no wrong. However, as we've seen time and time again, absolute power corrupts no one. So where does this leave us? Tiffany wasted her power, which ultimately led to her collapse, or was it because, let's face it, if she has managed to elude the law and establish a new life elsewhere, she has technically won, which is a bitter pill to swallow for the people she left behind. The people of Dolton are left to pick up the pieces and attempt to rebuild after everything that has happened. And Tiffany is most likely already planning her next move, while the authorities are still figuring out what to do. They will probably issue an international arrest warrant. But who knows if that will actually lead to anything? Scott is. Now that she is free, all we can do is watch and wait. If this whole incident has taught us anything, it is that Tiffany Henyard is unpredictable and that we may not have heard the last of her yet. That's all folks need to know about the amazing The Henyard of Tiffany. Everybody is astonished by the escape, but what do you think? Did a cunning mastermind plot the escape, Or did she have inside help to escape without being caught? Should the authorities have done more to prevent her from escaping till the next time? Continue to be attentive and involved.